advisory board members, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am Doranina, and I want to give you an overview of what Sentinel is all about. Pardon us for the hitches that we've encountered, and I always believe that anything that is bound to succeed faces challenges, and the challenges give us strength as we move on. Sentinel is not exactly an acronym, but it was just a word that we found to be very suitable for the title of social and environmental trade-offs in agriculture. It's a project that was funded by the Global Challenges Research Fund, Research Councils, the UK. And this was as a result of a call titled Growing Research Capability to Meet Challenges Faced by Developing Countries. Now, if you look at the title, the key word there is trade-off. And then the question is, what are trade-offs? Trade-offs, I see two individuals. I'll call them individuals because you see social and environmental, and they are bearing the same, what I'll call surname. The surname here is trade-offs. What are trade-offs? The first time I encountered trade-offs in during the write-up of the proposal, what came into my mind was the song, "You can never eat your cake, you can never eat your cake and have it, you can never eat your cake." Well, I wouldn't continue with the other words because they have bad connotation. Sentinel is not here to dig a pit for Ghana to fall in. Sentinel is here to stand by Ghana, to fight for the right to natural resources that we have. One other word that came into my mind as soon as I saw trade-offs was opportunity cost. And this is one fascinating key word that I encountered in agricultural economics in secondary school. In fact, it was a kind of slogan in the class. According to McShane, you encounter trade-off when some things, you make a decision, some things are gained, others are lost. In simple terms, trade-offs are competing goals. And so for people who are not so used to jargons or technical words, the easiest way to tell the synonym for trade-offs is considered competing goals. Now we are talking about agriculture, but agriculture is broader than we can ever imagine. Now let's just narrow down to the level of production. When it comes to the level of production, at the crop level, you see trade-offs where if you want to consider grains, you will have to think about losing crop residue. If you want to consider milk, you may have to think of losing much of meat production. That is at the animal production level. You come to the field level itself, you want to think about grain production in general, then you have to also think about nitrate leaching and water quality. But then this also depends on how much nitrogen you put in and what kind of soil you have and what kind of rainfall you have. And so This may not even be applicable to our case because we always have challenges with nitrogen. Then you come to the farm level, you can think about production of one crop against another, or production of one crop against other crops. You go further to the landscape level, and you can have agricultural production in general against land that you're going to reserve for nature. These are just examples of trade-offs at the production level. But if you want to look at the whole pathway of agriculture, we can talk about a whole range of them. And so in our title, we talk about social and environmental trade-offs. When we go further, trade-offs have characteristics. They have a nature, and so they can be environmental in nature, where the functions of the ecosystem comes into mind. They can be social in nature, where they have impact on the well-being of human beings. They also have a temporal dimension. They have levels of certainty and uncertainty. They can have levels of social segregation, where you can move from individual level to community to national and then to global levels. Then they can also have levels of competition. And in extreme cases, you can have conflict. The conflict can be acute or chronic. Now, according to these authors, you encounter acute trade-offs when resources are constrained and when the goals of different stakeholders really conflict. Why do we have to care about trade-offs? There is nobody here who has never heard of trade-off. Every one of us have heard of trade-offs. We are aware of trade-offs. But why do we have to care? The reason is that trade-offs are a norm in conservation and in development. In fact, even in our choices as human beings, we always encounter trade-offs. When we focus on trade-offs, it allows multiple actors involved in conservation and development to be able to recognize hard choices that are involved, to be able to identify or recognize outcomes that will either change, and that will really change, either for the better or for the worse, in terms of the diversity, in terms of functioning, in terms of the services provided by ecosystems. And again, when we focus on trade-offs, we'll be able to recognize a range of opportunities that are available to people in space and in time. In the past 30, 40, 20, whatever years, our populations were much smaller. But currently, the populations are growing at a faster rate. And that also means that we need more food to feed the multiplying mouths. And according to this study, it is projected that in 12 years, we are going to have an increase of about 50% of the population based on 2014. Almost 50% increase. We go further to 2050, we are going to have over 50% increase again. And that is alarming for us. And by 2050, it is projected that we are going to have about 20% of the entire global population residing on our continent, the continent of Africa. That means that we need more food to feed ourselves. And this is a study done by the Netherlands Environmental Agency. And we see, when we look at the figure, we notice that Africa has a case. The African continent has a case. And this is a continent that has challenges with soil fertility. This is a continent consumed is made from cereals. Then we can talk about the other sources, particularly roots and then vegetables. But then, maybe somebody has some precise figure. Okay, good, thank you. And it is projected that by this 2050, a reference year for most of our targets, cereal consumption on the continent is going to double. Now, if it's going to double, where are we going to produce those cereals? There is a trend over the years. This is data that has been produced, and the trend tells us that we only increase our food production by increasing the size of our farmlands. This is in contrast with Asia and Latin America. And if we continue to increase, let's forget about the other competitions for our farm, our lands, infrastructure, for instance. And so if we are going to continue like this, how is it going to look like? There's no one who doesn't know about sustainable development goals. We all know, and we have targets. Now, in our project, what we realized as we developed the proposal was that